here we are with some more Dylan Larkin trade conversation, because the folks over at TSN and Sportsnet have just given us a lot more food for thought. We are diving into what Elliotte Friedman said about the Larkin sweepstakes. We're getting into Pierre Lebrun, courtesy of Spectres Hockey. There is a lot to go out there and read, a lot for us to ponder, and if you're a fan of any of these teams, like the Canadiens, the Lightning, the Minnesota Wild, Dylan Larkin trade talk is all the rage. Now, we don't need to go into the entire profile here. Y'all already know what we're talking about. Dylan Larkin is going to be 30 years old. He's making $8.7 million to the end of 2030, and he wants out of Detroit. Kind of ruined his reputation with the fact that he's asking out of a team that hasn't made the playoffs since his rookie year, but Dylan Larkin is indeed in that spot, and Elliotte Friedman went out there and spoke about the potential trade return for Larkin and which teams could be hovering around. This post by Usual Personality 347 says, the return for Larkin could be similar to what the Buffalo Sabres got for Jack Eichel. The top destinations for Dylan Larkin, according to Elliotte Friedman, are the Dallas Stars, the Minnesota Wild, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Florida Panthers. A return could be similar to Eichel. Prior to being traded, Jack Eichel never made the playoffs and had a career high of 36 goals. So, maybe a relatively simple profile of accomplishment for Eichel and Larkin at the time of their trades. However, you also have to think about it. Jack Eichel, he was a second overall guy right behind Connor McDavid. He's younger than Dylan Larkin, and when you think about what Eichel has done since getting traded, he has a cup, could be getting another one soon. There's a lot to like about Jack Eichel. I also do think that Eichel is just a better player than Dylan Larkin is at the moment, and probably ever will be. I don't know, that's kind of mean to say. But Dylan Larkin maxed out at a career high of 79 points in 80 games. Jack Eichel, before he got sent over to Vegas, had an 82-point season already, and a bunch of other 70-point seasons too. Eichel has since gone on to put up 94 and 90-point campaigns. He would have scored 100 if he had just played the full season. I'm pretty confident about that. Now he's at 19 points in 18 games in the playoffs as Vegas takes on Carolina in Game 3 later today. Could Dylan Larkin have a similar sort of return for Detroit than what Jack Eichel was able to get for the Buffalo Sabres? Just a quick reminder, off the top of my head, the trade for Eichel involved Peyton Krebs, it involved Alex Tuch, and 2 conditional draft picks. Wow, what a beautiful graphic. Vegas does not mess around when it comes to their graphic design and their artistic endeavors. But Dylan Larkin fetching a nice prospect, a nice roster player, and 2 draft picks for Detroit would be pretty good, I would say. Each of these teams provides some ample conversations for us to dive into. Dallas, Tampa, Florida, these are all state tax-free teams. Obviously, Vegas is another one of those, and a lot of people have been speculating, kind of jokingly perhaps, whether or not Dylan Larkin could be heading over there. Minnesota ain't a state tax-free team, but the Wild have been all over these big names. They just acquired Quinn Hughes. Could they acquire Larkin? I question whether or not they actually have the necessary firepower to make a Dylan Larkin trade package work and have it be better than any of these other teams. But then again, Larkin does have trade protection. If he wants to go to Minnesota, then that's essentially all you got to do here. Top reply on this Reddit thread said, for reference, this is 3 first-round pick equivalents in the Jack Eichel trade, of which 1 is already a contributor plus a second-round pick. I'd be happy if Steve Yzerman can pull that off. What makes it trickier, though, is that the Red Wings need a center that can play in the top 6. We know it, other teams know it, everyone knows it. If the Wings can't find someone that does that this offseason, it's basically curtains on the year, and at the very least, picks or no. Now, with that said, let's head over to what Pierre Lebrun'S spoke about on The Athletic in regards to the Dylan Larkin conversation. This is going to be on Spectre's Hockey. Link is in the description below for your reading pleasure. Pierre Lebrun believes it would be a mistake to underestimate Red Wings GM Steve Yzerman's ability to get a solid return to Dylan Larkin after the latter requested a trade. Yzerman faced similar circumstances before. As GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2014, Yzerman got a good return for Martin St. Louis after he had requested a trade to the New York Rangers. 3 years later, Yzerman met winger Jonathan Drouin's trade request by shipping him to the Montreal Canadiens for defenseman Mikhail Sergachev. Lebrun indicated that Yzerman has received a short list of preferred trade destinations from the Larkin camp. However, he speculated that list could change or grow. Lebrun also thinks it's not to either side's advantage to play hardball in this situation, but should instead try to avoid dragging this out throughout the summer and into next year. According to Lebrun, between 12 and 15 teams could inquire about Larkin. Obvious potential fits include the Kings, the Wild, and the Canadiens. The Kings need a replacement for Anze Kopitar, the Wild seek an established first-line center, and the Canadiens need a second-line center. Lebrun wondered if the Dallas Stars would be a suitor if they failed to re-sign Jason Robertson. He also sees the Bruins as a potential fit too. Meanwhile, Max Bultman wondered where the Red Wings would go from here after team captain Dylan Larkin requested a trade this week. Larkin's request complicates the Red Wings' offseason plans. They must now add a top-line center to their existing needs of a top-line left wing, a second-line center, bottom six scoring, and toughness. Bultman wondered if trading Larkin would force the Red Wings to retool their roster around their young core of talent rather than push for the playoffs next year. He also pondered the future of winger Alex DeBrincat, who turns 29 in December and is a year away from UFA status. So lots of pondering here on behalf of Lebrun and Max Bultman, thinking about Steve Yzerman and his record. What I gotta say here, though, Martin St. Louis, Jonathan Drouin, these trades are not going to be as big as the Dylan Larkin trade, although I do understand. The St. Louis trade over to New York was a decently big deal from the perspective of it was literally a captain-for-captain trade. Martin St. Louis for Ryan Callahan and a bunch of stuff. Really interesting move, and one of these things where I was like, I guess it worked out. I mean, Martin St. Louis was able to go to the Stanley Cup Finals with the New York Rangers, right? So, yeah, I mean, they didn't win, but whatever. Jonathan Drouin for Mikhail Sergachev was a pretty big fleece. Dylan Larkin. Can Stevie Y pull that magic off once more and get a huge haul for this guy, either from the Kings, the Wild, the Canadiens, the Elliotte Friedman teams, the Stars, the Lightning, the Panthers? Man, we are talking about a lot of teams over here. What's interesting as well is how Lebrun noted that either side shouldn't play hardball. Make it easy, because that's better for everybody. If the Red Wings really start to get up Dylan Larkin's behind, they say, hey, no, we can't send you to this team, we got you going over to this team, whatever, that makes Larkin pissed off. If Larkin holds back on the teams that he is willing to go to, man, I only want to go to this team, only send me to Vegas, then the Red Wings will have a much worse trade return. So it goes both ways. Just be calm, be peaceful, and it'll work out. So with that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elliotte Friedman's scoop on the Dylan Larkin trade conversation, as well as what Pierre Lebrun had to say about it too? Where do you think Larkin's going to go? Do you think the trade price could be similar to Jack Eichel? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.